Life has a strange way of teaching us lessons. The more we try to control every little detail, the outcomes, the timing, the way people respond, the more frustrated and exhausted we become. We plan our lives down to the smallest steps, thinking that if we just try harder, push more, and never let go, things will finally fall into place. But what if I told you that the opposite is true? That the moment you stop forcing, stop grasping, and start trusting, everything begins to flow effortlessly. It's not about giving up, it's about understanding where your power truly lies. The Stoics mastered this way of thinking centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius once wrote about the importance of accepting what comes naturally and not wasting energy fighting against reality. He understood that struggling against things beyond our control only leads to suffering. The real battle is always within, training the mind to focus on what can be shaped and letting go of the rest. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. The mindset shift that can transform the way you approach success, relationships, and even your own peace of mind. Because if you're constantly stressed, feeling like no matter what you do, things just don't seem to go your way, there's a reason for that. You might be holding on too tightly to things that aren't meant to be controlled in the first place. This video isn't just another self-improvement talk. This is about something deeper. How to live with true confidence, to move through life with a sense of calm and certainty, instead of anxiety and frustration. And trust me, if you watch until the end, you'll walk away with a completely different perspective on how to get what you want in life, without chasing it desperately. Before we get into it, there's a simple free favor I'll ask you. If you appreciate what we're doing here, hit the subscribe button. It takes less than a second, but it helps bring this content to more people who need it. Let's dive in. Number 1. Detach from the outcome. We spend so much of our lives obsessing over results, waiting for that job offer, hoping that relationship works out, stressing over whether our efforts will pay off. We tell ourselves that if we just work a little harder, push a little more, we can force things to go our way. But what happens? The more we cling to a specific outcome, the more anxious we become. The process stops feeling fulfilling, and our happiness becomes entirely dependent on something we can't fully control. And that's where we trap ourselves. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus taught that we suffer not because of what happens, but because of our attachment to what we want to happen. He said, "Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to, rather wish that what happens happens as it should, and you will be happy." In other words, instead of tying your happiness to a specific outcome, focus on the process. Focus on what you can control, your actions, your discipline, your mindset, and let go of everything else. Think about an artist painting a masterpiece. If they're obsessed with making every brushstroke perfect, worrying about how others will judge their work, they'll never get into a creative flow. But when they detach from the final result and simply focus on the act of painting, something incredible happens. They become fully immersed in the moment. The work becomes effortless, and ironically, that's when they create their best art. The same principle applies to everything in life, work, relationships, personal growth. When you stop fixating on how things must turn out, you give yourself the freedom to enjoy the journey. This is especially true in relationships. Have you ever seen someone try too hard to impress another person? Their energy feels needy, desperate, almost forced, and what happens? It pushes people away. But when someone is confident, at ease with themselves, and not obsessed with a particular outcome, they naturally attract others. Why? Because they're not controlled by fear. They trust that whatever is meant to happen will happen. That's the power of detachment. Now let's talk about success. So many people believe that if they don't achieve a specific goal by a certain time, they've failed. They treat life like a rigid checklist. Graduate by this age, make this much money, get married, achieve this level of success. And if things don't go according to plan, they spiral into self-doubt. But here's the thing, success isn't a straight path. It's full of twists, setbacks, and unexpected opportunities. If you're too attached to one outcome, you might miss an even better one that life is trying to bring your way. Take a moment and ask yourself, what am I holding on to too tightly? What goal, expectation, or outcome is causing me stress? Now imagine what would happen if you released that grip, not giving up, but trusting that whatever happens, you'll be okay. That's detachment. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop needing things to go a certain way to feel at peace. So how do you practice this in real life? First, remind yourself daily that outcomes are beyond your control. All you can control is your effort, your discipline, and your mindset. Number 2, reframe your thinking. Instead of, I need this to happen, shift to, I trust that whatever happens will be for my growth. And finally, focus on the present moment. The more you immerse yourself in now, the less power the future has over you. Number 2, master your mindset. Life throws challenges at us constantly. Some days everything flows effortlessly, and other days it feels like the world is working against you. The difference between people who crumble under pressure and those who thrive isn't luck, it's mindset. The way you think shapes how you experience life, and if you don't learn to master your mind will master you. You can't always control what happens around you, the economy, other people's actions, unexpected obstacles, but you can control how you respond. That's where real power lies. When you shift your mindset from reacting to responding, everything changes. Psychologist William James, often called the father of modern psychology, once said, "The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another." This is exactly what the Stoics taught. You don't have to believe every thought that enters your mind. You don't have to let every difficult moment define you. Instead, you can train yourself to reframe situations, to step back and see them from a new perspective. Here's another example. Imagine you're going through a tough time at work. You keep making mistakes, your boss is breathing down your neck, and you feel like you're failing. One way to approach this is to think, I'm terrible at this, I'll never get better. Maybe I'm just not good enough. That's a fixed mindset, and it traps you in self-doubt. But what if you change that thought? What if instead you said, I'm learning. Every mistake is teaching me something. The pressure I'm feeling is helping me grow. That's a growth mindset, and it allows you to turn struggles into opportunities. The Stoics believed that every challenge is an opportunity to practice virtue, patience, resilience, wisdom. Seneca once said, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. That means every struggle, every setback, every moment of frustration is actually training you to be stronger. Think of it like lifting weights. If you never push yourself, you never build strength. The same is true for your mind. But let's be honest, mastering your mindset isn't something that happens overnight. It takes daily practice. One simple way to start: pay attention to your inner dialogue. Are you constantly feeding yourself thoughts of fear, doubt, and negativity? Or are you training yourself to see opportunities, to reframe situations, to stay calm in the face of uncertainty? Your mind is like a garden. What you plant is what grows. If you plant seeds of fear and anxiety, that's what will take over. But if you plant seeds of strength, clarity, and resilience, those will grow instead. Another way to strengthen your mindset: train yourself to stay in the present. so much stress, comes from obsessing over the past or worrying about the future. But the only thing you can ever control is this moment, right now. The next time you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, what can I do right now that will move me forward? That one question can snap you out of panic and bring you back to what matters. Number 3, trust in divine timing. We're addicted to immediacy. We live in a world that rewards fast results, instant reactions, real-time updates. Everything is tracked, measured, optimized for speed, and without realizing it, we carry that same urgency into the things that matter most: our dreams, our healing, our love, our purpose. So we start to panic when life doesn't move as fast as we expect, when the opportunity takes too long, when the right person doesn't show up soon enough, when our effort isn't met with instant confirmation. And that's when frustration creeps in, doubt, anxiety, the feeling that maybe it's not meant for us after all. But here's the thing, no one wants to admit most of what's truly worth having takes time. And not just linear time, not just work for it long enough and it'll come. No, I'm talking about something deeper, something sacred, divine timing. The Stoics didn't use that phrase, but they lived by it. They trusted the unfolding of life not passively, but intentionally. They understood that just because you're ready doesn't mean the world is. And that's not failure, that's alignment waiting for its moment. Think about it like this. You could be the right person, doing the right work, with the right intention, but if the timing is off, the result won't stick. It won't last. It'll be a forced version of something that needed more space to become real. And that's where trust comes in, not blind faith. But Stoic trust, the kind that says, I am not entitled to the exact moment I want something to happen, but I am responsible for staying ready when it does. Because you never know what life is rearranging in the background. You don't see the traffic being cleared. You don't see the connection being built across invisible timelines. You don't see how your waiting is actually shaping you into the person who'll be able to hold what you're asking for. And let's be honest though, many times in your life did you want something so badly, and then, later, realized that if it had shown up when you wanted it, you would have ruined it. You weren't ready, emotionally, spiritually, energetically. And that's what divine timing protects you from. It's not a delay, it's a filter. It's life saying, not now, not because you're unworthy, but because you're still becoming. That doesn't mean you wait around doing nothing. It means you keep building, but without bitterness. You keep growing, without grasping. You keep moving forward, not because the prize is coming tomorrow, but because the journey is still shaping you into the one who can actually receive it. The Stoics would call this living in accordance with nature. It means you don't try to force the sun to rise faster. You rise with it. You align your actions with the rhythm of what is, not just what you wish was happening. That's peace. Not because everything is going your way, but because you trust that the way is unfolding exactly as it needs to. When you truly trust divine timing, something incredible happens. You stop competing. You stop comparing. You stop thinking you're late. And you start understanding your path is custom built. No one can walk it better than you. So breathe. Not everything delayed is being denied. Not every silence is rejection. Sometimes the no is simply not yet. And if you can hold that space without losing your joy, without forcing the moment, without shrinking your value, you'll look back one day and realize, it didn't come when I wanted, but it came exactly when I was finally ready. That's the moment you meet divine timing, not with expectation, but with grace. And if that gave you something real today, type this below: I trust the timing. And because when you stop chasing the clock, you start living like someone who knows time is not running out. It's lining up. Number 4, act with purpose, not desperation. There's a quiet line between intention and obsession. At first, it's easy to miss. You tell yourself you're just being focused, being committed, putting your energy into what matters. But over time, if you're honest, you start to feel it. The shift from clarity to chaos, from purpose to panic. Because when you act from desperation, no matter how well you disguise it, it leaks out. In your tone, in your timing, in your posture. Desperation is loud, even when you think you're whispering. It smells of fear, and nothing repels the things you chase faster than fear in disguise. Maybe you've been there. You needed something to work, a relationship, a job, an outcome you were clinging to like your peace depended on it. So you pushed, you over-explained. You kept checking in. You sent that one extra message, that second follow-up, that third apology. You called it effort. You told yourself you were being proactive. But deep down, it didn't feel like power. It felt like pleading. And that's the trap. Because desperation doesn't come from not caring. It comes from caring too much about things outside your control. And that's exactly where the Stoics drew the line. They never said don't act. They never said don't want. What they taught again and again is this: act with intention. Let go of the outcome. Epictetus put it clearly. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Meaning, know who you are, know what you stand for, and from that place of strength move. Don't flail, don't beg, don't scatter your energy hoping something sticks. Move like a man who already knows where he's going, even if the road ahead is uncertain. Desperation is action without foundation. It's movement without clarity. But purpose? Purpose is measured. It's calm. It's powerful in a quiet way. The way an arrow flies when it's been drawn back by steady hands, not shaking ones. Let's say you're applying for jobs. One version of you sends out hundreds of applications, panics after each rejection, questions your worth every time someone doesn't reply. That's not hustle. That's fear in motion. Now compare that to the version of you who applies selectively, with clarity. You know your value. You've taken time to refine your skills. You don't need everyone to say yes, you just need the right one. And your energy reflects that. Same thing in relationships. Acting from desperation means texting too often, apologizing for taking up space, overanalyzing every response, molding yourself to please. It creates a current of tension, and over time, the other person feels it even if they can't explain why they're pulling away. But when you act from purpose, from self-respect, from wholeness, you create space for real connection. People feel safer around your calm than around your craving. That's the difference. And here's the hard part. Sometimes we think we're being intentional when we're actually being reactive. We confuse momentum with progress. But the Stoic path always demands one thing: first self-check. Not what should I do, but why am I doing it? If the answer is fear, panic, emptiness, or ego, stop. Breathe, reset, return to center. Because the only actions worth committing to are the ones rooted in inner clarity, not need, not lack, but alignment. So how do you shift from desperation to purpose? You start by slowing down. Desperation rushes, purpose moves with rhythm. Desperation scans the horizon looking for signs. Purpose plants its feet and trusts the process. You take a step back and ask, would I still choose this action if I had nothing to prove and nothing to lose? If the answer is yes, then go. Fully, boldly, without apology. But if the answer is no, if it's only driven by fear of missing out, fear of being left, fear of failure, then wait. Hold your fire, refine your reason. Because aligned action doesn't just get better results, it feels better even before the results arrive. You walk differently, speak differently, attract differently. You're not reacting anymore, you're radiating. In a world addicted to doing, it takes courage to pause, to step away from the frenzy and move from stillness. But that's where your power lives, not in chasing what's running, but in becoming someone everything stable wants to stay near. And if this truth struck something inside you today, comment this below. I move with purpose. Because once you stop moving out of fear, you start walking like someone who was never lost to begin with. Number 5. Let go of control. There's a strange thing about control. The more you try to grip it, the more it slips. The tighter you cling to how things should go, the more chaotic they start to feel. And the more obsessed you become with the outcome, the further away it moves. It's ironic, isn't it? We try to hold it all together, people. Plans, timing, emotions. If the entire world will unravel if we loosen our grip even slightly. But the truth is, the need for control is not about power, it's about fear. And fear, when disguised as discipline, becomes tension, the very thing that blocks everything we're trying to let in. You think you're being precise, focused, responsible. But underneath, there's a current of panic. A voice that says, if I don't manage every detail, it'll fall apart. If I don't hold on tight, I'll lose it all. And that voice, it's lying to you. Because control isn't clarity. Control is resistance dressed up as order. And the Stoics knew this better than anyone. They didn't preach passivity. They taught radical acceptance, the kind that says, I will do what I can, but I will not suffer over what I cannot. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his meditations in luxury. He wrote them in war, surrounded by uncertainty, betrayal, death. And even then he wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. And let that sink in. Power isn't in controlling life. It's in not letting life control you. Now let's bring that into today. Maybe you're trying to fix a relationship. Maybe you want your business to take off. Maybe you're desperate to heal, to get clarity, to finally feel like things are working again. So, you plan, you monitor, you double-check. You stress when it doesn't move fast enough. You get emotionally entangled in every tiny signal, reading into every silence, every delay. And slowly, without realizing it, you're not pursuing a goal, you're trying to force alignment. That's where things start to break. Because true alignment can't be forced. It has to flow. And flow can't happen while your fists are clenched around an idea of how it all must look. Letting go of control doesn't mean giving up. It means trusting the order beneath the chaos. It means asking yourself, if I release my grip, what would happen? Would I fall apart, or finally fall into place? This isn't easy, especially when your mind is used to surviving. Survival teaches you to anticipate everything, to stay ahead, to always prepare for the worst. But peace doesn't live there. Peace lives in the moment you say, I've done what I can. The rest is not mine to carry. Because from that space, you start moving differently. You take action without urgency. You speak without needing to persuade. You build without needing to be seen. You relax not because you don't care, but because you care correctly. The paradox is this. Only when you release the illusion of control do you finally feel in control of yourself. You become the calm one, the grounded one, the one who doesn't get shaken by things he cannot own, cannot chase, cannot force. And this is the point. You don't attract peace by controlling everything. You attract peace by becoming the kind of man who doesn't need everything to go his way to stay at peace. So whatever it is you're holding on to right now, that outcome you keep checking on, that message you're waiting for, that fear that says, if I don't act now, I'll lose it. Breathe and loosen your grip. Let life meet you where you are, not where you demand it to be. Let the timing unfold. Let the silence speak. Let what's real rise without being pushed. And if you're ready, truly ready, to stop wrestling with what you can't control, type this below. I release the grip, because once you let go, you don't fall. you float. Number 6. Embody the energy of abundance. Let's be honest. When we want something badly, success, love, money, clarity, we tend to think that we're manifesting it by focusing on it. We visualize, we plan, we write goals. But what we don't realize is that often the energy we carry underneath all of that is lack. We want because we believe we don't have. We act because we're afraid of losing our chance. We visualize not from certainty but from fear that it might never come true. And here's where the Stoic lens breaks this wide open. The Stoics didn't believe in chasing emotions. They believed in embodying values, living in alignment with the truth, not chasing temporary highs or quick outcomes. So when we talk about manifesting abundance, it's not about thinking positive or reciting affirmations in the mirror. It's about living, moving, acting, speaking as if you already carry what you seek. Abundance isn't something you wait for. It's something you become. You don't wait to have more love, you show up as love. You don't wait to be wealthy, you carry yourself with discipline, confidence, clarity. You don't wait for the world to validate your worth, you start treating yourself like someone who already matters. Because here's the truth most people avoid. You don't attract what you beg for. You attract what you reflect. If your daily energy is rooted in anxiety, scarcity, and survival, you'll keep creating circumstances that match that vibration. You'll stay in situations where you're fighting for crumbs of attention, of money, of peace. But when you shift into abundance, see no as a wish, but as a way of being, you begin to see the world respond differently. And this isn't about faking confidence or pretending you're rich when your account says otherwise. It's about anchoring yourself in the belief that you're already whole, that you are not defined by what's missing, but by what you choose to expand. Abundance is presence. Abundance is gratitude in motion. It's waking up and saying, even in this moment right now, I already have enough to build from. Look around you. If you're breathing, thinking, watching this video, you already have power. Power to shift your attention. Power to change your pace. Power to act from calm, not chaos. You don't need to chase wealth to feel worthy. You build your worth first, and wealth finds its way toward that frequency. You don't need to force love. You become someone who radiates peace, and suddenly, you stop needing to chase people to stay. They feel the difference. And maybe that's the shift. From, what can I get? To, what am I already carrying that I haven't fully claimed yet? That shift is internal. No one can give it to you. But once it's made, people will feel it. You'll walk into rooms differently. You'll speak with less effort. You'll attract opportunities not because you begged for them, but because you stopped broadcasting desperation. That's what happens when you embody abundance. You're not waiting to become someone. You're living like someone who already is. And yes, it takes practice, especially when you've spent years believing you need to prove, to hustle, to convince. But here's the truth. The man who already feels rich inside, who moves from wholeness, not hunger, walks with a rhythm that the world respects. So if you've been asking how to manifest more, maybe it's time to stop asking and start embodying. You don't need permission. You don't need proof. You just need to stop waiting for abundance to arrive and realize it's been trying to meet you at your level. So raise it. Speak less about what you lack. Act more from what you know is already within you. And you'll see slowly, quietly, and then all at once, the world will start meeting you there. And if that truth lit something in you today, comment this below. I carry abundance. Because you don't become abundant by chasing more. You become abundant the moment you stop believing you're empty. Number 7. Relax and receive. You've been told all your life that effort equals results. That if you want something bad enough, you have to grind for it. Push, hustle, stay up late, double down, triple your output. That rest is for the weak. and relaxing means you're not serious. And yet, here you are, exhausted, disciplined, doing everything right, and somehow still stuck, still waiting, still gripping too hard. Here's what no one told you. Sometimes the very thing blocking what you want is how hard you're chasing it. That's the paradox. There's a point where effort turns into resistance, where trying becomes grasping, and grasping carries a signal. I don't believe this will come to me unless I force it. But manifestation, real manifestation, isn't about force. It's about frequency. You receive not when you finally earn it through exhaustion, but when your internal state becomes safe enough to hold it. And for most people, that state doesn't come from more effort. It comes from relaxation. I don't mean laziness. I don't mean giving up. I mean that deep shift where your nervous system stops sprinting, where your thoughts stop panicking, and your energy says, I already know it's mine. I don't need to suffer to deserve it. The Stoics call this tranquility, ataraxia, state of serene calmness, born not from ignorance of life's chaos, but from alignment with it. Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire under constant pressure, but in his writings, he kept returning to the same truth. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. In other words, relaxation is not escape, it's power. It's a signal to life that you are no longer afraid. You're no longer begging. You're no longer tensing your body for impact. And when you do that, when you truly shift from tension to trust, things begin to open. You start noticing opportunities you missed while you were overthinking. You start attracting people who feel drawn to your energy, not because you're trying to impress them, but because they can feel your peace. You stop leaking power trying to convince, prove, or push. Instead, you begin to receive. Naturally, gradually, effortlessly, because the energy of receiving isn't passive. It's magnetic. It says, I know who I am. I know what I carry. I don't need to demand it. I simply align with it. And here's the part most people overlook. Relaxation is a skill. It's a decision you practice. Every time your mind wants to spiral into urgency, you pause. You breathe. You remind yourself, I am not behind. I am not being tested. I am being prepared. You learn to rest without guilt, to pause without fear, to believe that ease isn't laziness, it's clarity in motion. And when that belief becomes embodied, the world starts responding. Not because it was holding back, but because you were finally ready to stop forcing it open. So if you've been doing the work, if you've been carrying the pressure, pushing every angle, chasing everything you thought would prove you're worthy, here's the invitation. Stop. Not forever, not dramatically, just long enough to remember that receiving doesn't mean waiting. It means allowing. Allowing yourself to believe that things can come to you without struggle, that you don't have to live in tension to be serious about your life. That peace isn't the end of growth, it's the ground of it. Relax. Let it come. Let it meet you. Not because you gave up, but because you finally gave yourself permission to trust. And if you felt that, type this below. I allow it in. Because in the end, it's not about trying harder. It's about opening wider. Number 8. Take aligned action and let go. Have you ever caught yourself obsessing over a goal, pushing harder and harder, only to feel like you're running in circles? You do everything right, follow every step, and yet the results don't show up as fast as you want them to. It's frustrating, isn't it? We've been taught that success is all about effort, about never stopping, never letting go. But here's what most people don't realize. There's a difference between aligned action and desperate action. And sometimes, the real key to progress is knowing when to act and when to step back. The Stoics had a deep understanding of this. Seneca once said, Effort and patience will achieve more than force and anxiety. We live in a culture that glorifies the grind, the idea that if you just work hard enough, things have to go your way. But real success isn't about blind effort. It's about taking the right steps, staying open to opportunity, and then allowing life to unfold. The problem with forcing things is that it creates resistance. It's like pulling it or not. The harder you yank, the tighter it becomes. Imagine you're trying to fall asleep. You can't force yourself to sleep, right? The more you try to sleep, the more restless you become. But the moment you relax, let go, and trust that sleep will come, it happens naturally. The same is true for success, relationships, and even personal growth. You have to take action, yes, but you also have to trust the process. Think of a farmer planting seeds. They prepare the soil, plant the seeds, water them, and make sure they get enough sunlight. But after that, they don't dig up the seeds every day, demanding that they grow faster. They trust that in time, the crops will flourish. If they tried to rush the process, they'd only damage what they planted. Life works the same way. You take action, you do your part, but then you have to trust that things will develop at their own pace. This applies to every aspect of life. Take relationships, for example. Have you ever met someone who tried too hard? Maybe they were overly eager, texting too much, always needing reassurance. Their energy felt heavy, almost desperate. But then there's the person who is calm, confident, who shows interest, but also gives space. They naturally attract others because they aren't forcing anything. That's what happens when you take aligned action and let go. You create space for things to flow, instead of suffocating them. Or think about your career. Maybe you've been hustling, trying to force every opportunity, but nothing seems to be moving forward. Now, what if instead of panicking, you trusted that your work was enough? What if you focused on being excellent at what you do, building meaningful connections, and allowing the right doors to open when they're meant? 2. This doesn't mean you sit back and do nothing. It means you stop trying to control every outcome. You take smart, purposeful action, and then trust that what's meant for you will come. Marcus Aurelius in Meditations wrote, "Do what you must and let what happens happen." This is the essence of aligned action. You focus on what's in your control, your efforts, your discipline, your mindset, but you don't obsess over the results. Because the truth is, no matter how much you plan, no matter how hard you push, there will always be things outside your control. And the more you resist that truth, the more stressed and frustrated you become. So how do you actually practice this in your daily life? First, get clear on your goal and take the necessary steps. Prepare, train, learn. Do your part. Second, let go of the need to control when and how the results show up. Accept that timing isn't always up to you. And third, trust in your own resilience. Even if things don't go exactly as you planned, you'll adapt, you'll grow, and you'll find new opportunities along the way. At the end of the day, life isn't about controlling every outcome. It's about mastering yourself. The moment you shift your focus from chasing to aligning, from forcing to flowing, everything starts to fall into place. The Stoics knew this truth centuries ago, and now it's yours to apply. So take a deep breath, trust the process, and remember, real power comes from within. So now you understand, the secret isn't in pushing harder. It's in stepping back, breathing deeper, and letting what's meant for you arrive without force. Manifestation isn't about chasing, it's about becoming. Becoming someone who acts with purpose, not panic. Someone who trusts in timing, lets go of control, and lives from abundance, not anxiety. The Stoics didn't beg life to move faster. They moved with life. They held their center, while the world spun around them. That's your power now, not in trying to control everything, but in mastering yourself. So if something in this video hit deep, take it with you, live it, and let it shape the way you carry yourself starting today. If you haven't yet, hit subscribe. This isn't just a channel, it's a mindset. See you in tomorrow's video.